Hello class, George here, and in this video, it's going to be a very short video hopefully, we are going to see our application over here running instead of on the emulator on a device, which you see right before you. Now I'm using a Galaxy, S5, and because I'm using a Galaxy S5, I have an application that I can install called Sidesync. So if you happen to be following along with a Galaxy device as well, or Samsung device, you can download Sidesync to both your phone. It's under apps, and then once you download it, Sidesync, launch that, and then go to your computer and go to their Samsung's website and download the application. And if you run the two of them, you get this nice little interface over here that lets you see what your phone's doing. So I can turn it on and off, and several other settings as well. But mainly I like this just because it allows me to work in front of you and show you the application and my phone running right next to each other. But first, we need to set up your device. Now, I've already taken my device, plugged it in to my computer. And when I plugged it into my computer, of course, it started charging. And then normally when you, let's see if this will pop up here. If I click this, it'll say file transfer in this particular case. But when you plug in an Android device, especially a more recent one, you'll be given an option when you plug it in with what you want to do. You can just charge it, you can do file transfer. This is a great way of getting files off of your phone onto your computer, or just clearing things out and so forth and so on. I'm gonna hit cancel for right now, it's fine. Now what you're gonna wanna do though, is go into your launcher, so apps, launcher, find settings. And if you're using a more recent version of Android, and I believe that's 4.2 plus, the developer settings are actually going to be hidden. Now I've already activated mine. And as you can see right here under System, I have Developer Options. This is going to be hidden from you if you've never enabled it before. But what you're going to do is go under About Phone, and then go down to Build Number and start clicking this. Click it 7 times. Now I've already done this, so I get this little toast message saying Developer Mode has already been turned on. You will continue to click that, then you will say, yes, I would like to turn on Developer Mode, and then you're good to go. Another interesting thing about Android is, if you continually click the Android version number, you get a nice little game for this version of Android that will pop up. I believe this is a take on a Flappy Bird. But we don't really have time to mess with this, so I encourage you to check it out yourself. So now that we have the debug stuff set up, now I've been doing Android development on my computer for a while now, so there are actually a few additional steps you may need to do in case things are not functioning properly. And there's actually something called the Windows ADB, or Android Debug Bridge installer, that you might need to install on your computer if for some reason your device is not being detected by Android Studio, or Windows I should say. And the more rare or different your device might happen to be, like if you got some free tablet or cell phone or something through some other service, or maybe you bought a laptop from someone and they gave you a tablet, you might need to go to that supplier's website and see if you can find a USB driver to connect that device to your computer. When you're first working with Android, I really recommend you try to use a very, either a relatively current or a very accessible and very obvious, like a Nexus device or so forth, that you know is going to work properly with your computer. So if you are having problems on a Windows device, the first thing I recommend you do is to actually download the USB driver. So if we go over here to our settings tab, which is under right here, the SDK manager, we can go to SDK tools, and down here we're going to find our Google USB driver. Click this, hit OK, go ahead and download it, and it will install that driver for you. Finish. I recommend closing Android Studio, potentially even restarting your computer once that's all done. So if you don't know where it would have done that, you can go back to your settings over here under your Android SDK, and over here is your Android SDK location. And you can, of course, edit that if you want to and put it somewhere else. It's up to you. But either way, go ahead and navigate to that location. So C drive, users, my thing, app data, which is a hidden folder, so you're going to need to enable hidden folders, local, Android, and SDK. So under SDK, go to Extras, Google, and then USB driver. And you can manually install these USB drivers if you need to. So how do you know whether or not things have been connected? Well, the Android monitor down here is going to display to you all the different devices that you have connected to your computer. So right now I have an unauthorized device. So if I come over here, and you'll notice that since it's been connected, it's saying allow USB debugging, and I'll hit OK. Now, I'll get a tremendous amount of information popping up, but this is not going to be an option directly available to you immediately. You need to first go under Settings and enable USB debugging. So let's go to Settings, scroll on down to System, and under Developer Options, you should have a USB debugging. Now, I already have this turned on, and that's because toggling this crashes or closes out of Sidesync. So if I want to keep this open for you to see without having a delay, I've just left USB debugging on. So make sure that's checked and connect your device. And down here in the monitor, you should have a bunch of streaming log information coming in from all of the different applications that you have on your phone. Clear that out. You can see it's still generating more information. And this is normal. Expect that to happen. And we'll talk a lot more about the Lecakes system later on. Now, if you don't see this screen, what you need to do is go to View, Tool Windows, and then click on Android Monitor. So another thing you can do if you want more information about your devices, a little bit more information than what you see here, is click over here on the Android Device Monitor. This might take a few seconds to load, and if it's your first time, you will get a warning box that says something about sending data back to Google. What you're going to see here is the name of your device over here. And once again, I need to make sure I allow debugging. There we are. So there's our device name, that it's online, the version it's running, and of course all that information spewing forth down here. This is incredibly useful information, but there's a lot of it. So later on, we'll be taking a look at ways of filtering this information, not only by changing the level, whether it's verbose, debug, or so forth, but actually generating our own filters over here that can help us search by particular applications or strings, really, that we'll be using. So this device looks like it's working. So let's go ahead and close this. And before I try to run this on a tablet, yes, please allow USB debugging. Thank you. Let's come back over here. And we have our app open from the previous video. Let's go ahead and hit Run App. Now, you might want to check to make sure that when you hit Run, you're going to get a window that pops up. This is a very common problem. If we go to click on the App button and go to Edit Configurations, under App, we have down here Deployment Target Options. And the target here is a Show Device Chooser dialog. This means that every time we press Run, we're going to get the ability to select how we want this application to run, whether it's a USB device or an emulator. Now, if you're only working with an emulator or you're only working on a USB device for a while, you might want to select one of these options instead. That way you won't have to deal with this chooser every single time. Hit Apply, hit OK. Now let's hit the Run button. Hitting Run, of course, brings up that deployment target. Now I'm going to choose my connected device. I'm going to hit OK. Now we can see with Sidesync, hopefully everything is going to be fine. Take a look over here. We can see that Gradle build is running. So do be patient whenever you're building out your applications to your device. Just give it a little bit of time. It's important for you to note that the APK that's being built out here is not something you're going to be releasing on Google Store. It's getting a development key that allows it to run on your device. And because you decided to allow developer options, things are going to work for you. Just don't think you're going to be giving this thing away or putting on Google Play just yet. In a much further video later on, we'll talk about how to make that happen. So as you can see right now, automatically the app is going to launch on our phone. Once again, give it a little bit of time to do that. Here's our first app up here. We can see our text, get answer. Now we're going to press get answer, and we can see that occurring right there. We can even rotate our view. And the cool thing about rotating our view is that we get to see it, that the layout automatically resizes appropriately. But there is a little bit of a problem here. When I rotated the view, you'll notice that we're all of a sudden back to the beginning. In our next video, most likely the next video, we're going to talk about the Android life cycle of an activity and how it actually gets destroyed when a device becomes rotated. And we're going to discuss ways of making sure that we can save data out so that when we do rotate this device, we actually get the same screen we were on beforehand. So now let's try to get this to work on a tablet instead. All right, so I've gone ahead and plugged in my tablet, but I'm noticing right now that I'm not getting any kind of connection with my computer. It's not showing up as a device anywhere. So let's check the Android device monitor really quick to see if I can find this device without doing anything else. So as you can see here, I'm not seeing the device show up anywhere. And while you can't see this, I do, of course, have my settings tab open, and I have it connected, and I have developer options, and of course I have USB debugging enabled. However, it's not detecting a connection. Alright, so I'm back. There was a slight pause in me recording the video, and that's because my device wasn't being detected. And if I go over to this PC and we see our devices and drives down here, I can see my Nexus 9 right there. Alright, so there was a brief pause in me recording. That's because I thought I needed to restart my computer, but the reality is that I was using the wrong kind of cord. So before, I wasn't getting my Nexus device showing up here, and I followed the steps necessary to install the USB driver, but it still didn't pop up. So I restarted my computer, ran into the other room, and found a different... Alright, so it took about 30 seconds past Gradle actually finishing building everything, but the app did launch. Now, I want to show you that the app launched, so what I'm going to do over here is do some screen recording. So on the side of the Android monitor, we have the ability to take a screenshot or record the video itself. I'm just going to leave this at the default settings at the moment. Let's hit start recording. So what it's doing now is it's recording whatever you do on your screen. So I will superimpose on top of this right now what I'm doing. So I'm on our first app. I can rotate that app. Actually, I have no idea if what that's going to do with the screen recorder because I haven't tried that before. I can click Get Answer, and it's changing what my answer is. I can go home. I can click on the launcher. I can actually open up the different apps, close it out, go in the launcher, and let's see, what do we call this one? My First App, you can see it right there. Click on My First App. That'll open up, and there it is again. We can keep clicking Get Answer, and that's it. Perfect. Let's stop recording. Android Studio is going to prompt you to save this file out. I'm going to put this on my desktop so I can delete it in a few minutes. Hit OK. Now if we come back over here, we can click on this device, right-click, and I'm going to open this up with Windows Media Player. I'm using Windows Media Player just because VLC has been giving me some trouble with this for some reason. But we can see right here the application and then me going through the different answer states as well. All right, class, hopefully that was easy for you. That is connecting your device and getting it installed. Once again, make sure that you find the right USB drivers, you have them installed. Make sure you can see the device over here. Make sure that you've enabled developer mode and that you've gone through and turned on USB debugging, that you can see it down here in our monitor, and that you're able to launch it. Remember to post questions below if you have any difficulty, especially if you have a weird or funny kind of device or free device you got somewhere. These ones notoriously don't work. I've had some cases where we just never were able to get the device to function properly. In the next video, we're most likely going to explore the activity lifecycle and see what's actually going on behind the scenes where Android pauses, stops, or even destroys your application. Thanks everyone. See you next time. Bye.